Good morning, everybody. I believe I was first. It's Maisha Head. I'm not too crazy. I'm representing eligibility enrollment today. Um, I'm filling in for Mr. Smith. So I just wanted to make sure I am presenting properly. Um, you just want me to discuss eligibility and enrollment and just break it down to you, or did we have any specific questions?
Oh, just go
No,
over
normally,
eligibility, and then we're gonna, whoever's on afterwards will be able to take questions at the end.
Okay. Um, well, just in essence, eligibility enrollment, for a veteran to enroll properly, they can either present in person, they can send an application via fax, mailing, or they can do it online as well. With their completed application, they provide a DD 214, which notifies us of their time in the military that they served, the who, what, when, where, how. From that information, we enter that into the system and make a determination of what their priority group is going to be. The priority groups range from priority group 1 through 8. Priority group 1 through 3 they're all service connections. Priority group 1, 50% and up, you are a service connected veteran and should incur no copays, and all your treatment should be free. Priority group 2 and 3, 2 is you are between 20 and 30% service connected. Um, You should only have to do any co-pays possibly for any non-service connected matters. Same with priority group 3, which is usually between 10% and 20%. Same thing. They both have to do the copay test just to make sure you're concurrent and that we're properly billing you on any non-service connected issues, but anything service connected related, the veteran should not incur a bill. We have priority group 4, which is veterans who are having a brain fart. Give me a second. Catastrophically disabled. So generally, they can't work. They have ALS. They're paraplegic, what have you. They can't just come in and say that. That is something they have to be assessed by a provider here at the VA. They answer some questions, write down the paperwork, fill out the form. Chief of Staff reviews it, gives their approval, disapproval, and it comes back down to our office, and then we would update them properly into the system. If they're priority group 4, there's no co-pays because obviously they can't work. There's no money. Priority group 5 is, I always say they're under the national number. So I always say between 32 or 33,000 something, something, something. If you make between under that, you'll be a priority group 5 nationally. The only copay that they should incur would be anything that is related to medications. If they are under the poverty line, I believe it's 13,000 something something now, they would have no copays because they don't have income. Also, if they're receiving a pension from the government, they also go into that category. If they are receiving Medicaid, they would also go into that category as well. Priority group 6 is the one I call the caveat, so that's why the DD 214 is so important. So whether you have Vietnam boots on the ground, if you are a Southwest Asia veteran, if you are OEF, OIF veteran, Camp Lejeune, the radiation vets, those are the ones off the top of my head right now. I know the Blue Water vets are still in play. But all of those types put you in that caveat, which means in layman's terms, you could be a gazillionaire. You'll always have access to care at the VA facility. You just may or may not incur a copay due to your income, but it does not cancel you out from services. Priority Group 7C is the swing spot, I like to call it. You are literally above the national threshold of that 30,000 something, 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 but you're under the your GMT, so your geographical means test. So I could make $50,000 a year, but because I live in Greenwich, the cost of living is different. So if I'm between the national and my GMT, that's usually where they get the 7C from. And prior to group 8, everybody knows 8G, you can't come, unfortunately, due to your income. That's why we always try to encourage service connection. We always really try to speak with the veteran if they've service connected, MST, mental health issues. We always try to make sure we can at least take care of them and give them their steps and breakdowns on how they can get care for that. But if they are prior to group 8G, unfortunately, their income has made them ineligible for services at this moment in time. But that doesn't mean they can't try again. That doesn't mean if there's an issue, something happened, they lost their job, they got cancer, they have to do medication bills. That's when they can do a hardship through the office. We make that determination as long as it's basically predicting what your income is going to be for the following year because of your circumstances now. And then when they do their means test within the next year, generally they match. And then once enrolled, they'll always be okay. 8E is service connection only. And 8C is basically you're at the cap. You can get your care, but you're at the cap of the income, but you can get care and you have copays. I think that's eligibility in a nutshell. If you guys have questions, if I missed something, I did talk a mile a minute, and I'm so sorry. I did have coffee. I should not have done that. But if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
I've got nobody chatting, I think. So I think we should be okay.
And if you guys do think of answers that you didn't think about later, you're always more than welcome to email myself or Mr. Smith, and I'm always happy to answer the questions you have because it's a broad presentation, but eligibility is so much more intricate than that, and there's a lot of different caveats, a lot of different what ifs that do come into play that we do make sure that we acknowledge when it comes to the veteran. So we're always more than happy to answer a question that you guys have afterwards as well.
Roger that. Next presentation. Who's next?
I think it's Maureen.
Oh, sorry. I was looking what Heather sent, and I think she had you before me, but I'm happy to go. I'm just going to share my screen real quick because I do have a slide of what I'm going to be talking about. So my name is Maureen Pasco, and I oversee the homeless services here at VA Connecticut. And so I'm just going to talk briefly about what the programs and services that we offer as part of the larger homeless team. So the homeless team at the VA encompasses a continuum of services. We do provide outreach and engagement. So we do have walk-in clinics available Monday through Friday between 8 and 4:30 at the Community Resource and Referral Center in West Haven, but also at the Newington campus. Our motto is really there's no wrong way to get to us. So you are welcome to walk in if you're somebody in need of services or to give us a call. I did put our phone number down at the bottom. The outreach team also goes out into the community and can meet veterans anywhere throughout the state of Connecticut. Our programs cover the entire state. So if it's somebody who can't get to us, we can certainly go to them and meet them in their community. We also do a lot of outreach to encampments with our colleagues from the local homeless outreach teams, or we'll often check in with people who might be panhandling and try to engage them in care and services at the VA. Our mission, which is a little bit different than some of the other services at the VA, is to assist any veterans who is homeless, regardless of their healthcare eligibility. So we will often do those assessments and connect them to care at the VA, but if they are not eligible for additional services at the medical center, we will work with the coordinated access networks and the community homeless services systems in order to be able to assist those veterans as well. We also have a grant and per diem program, and that is transitional housing. We have 160 beds throughout the state of Connecticut. Excuse me. And what that program does is it provides an interim safe place for somebody who's homeless to stay where they can get case management support to assist them with whatever their housing needs might be, whether it's engaging in employment and connecting with vocational services, whether it's connecting with housing services, whether it's issues with just needing a security deposit. They provide case management supports at those programs in collaboration with the VA staff, and our goal for all of our programs is to help individual veterans get to housing at a pace that works for them based on their medical and mental health needs. I should also mention with the outreach and engagement, we do have some contract shelter beds in Connecticut, but they are much fewer There's 16 of those throughout the state that we provide funding to those agencies to provide shelter services to veterans here in Connecticut. The program that most people always like to hear about or talk about or think about is the HUD-VASH supportive housing program. It's for our system, the highest level of care that somebody might need from homeless services. And what that program does is it combines a HUD voucher with VA supportive housing case management. So there's a clinical case management team that includes social workers, nursing, peer support specialists, addiction recovery services. And so that program assists veterans to get to stable housing, but then provides those wraparound services to help people engage in the communities where they choose to live, but also to help them maintain stable permanent housing. We serve with that program, we have just under 1,000 vouchers that cover the state of Connecticut. It's a housing first model, which is most of our programs, which basically means you don't have to be receiving any kind of care. You don't have to agree to any rules or things like that in order to engage with our program, because our goal is to meet people where they're at and not leave them where they are. And if we can get somebody to housing, then we have the opportunity then to continue to engage them around their medical care, their substance use needs and or mental health needs, and provide those services at that time. But as you can imagine, if you're somebody who's literally homeless, it's really hard to worry about things like medical appointments and how you're going to get there and when those appointments are and how you're going to track that information. In addition, at least in West Haven, we have a homeless primary care team out of the Community Resource and Referral Center. So physician, physician and nurse and peer support specialists work as part of that team so that they offer services to homeless veterans in the greater New Haven area with the VA. They're much more flexible with appointment times because they understand the needs of our homeless veterans might be different, and veterans often have difficulty getting to the medical center or engaging in services. So they provide services right there within our teams. We have a critical time intervention program, which is similar if people are aware of ACT teams or assertive community treatment, that provides intensive services to veterans with serious mental illness who are also homeless. And the goal of that program is to provide intensive case management, helping people get to stable housing, and then providing short-term care until they're stable, and then handing them back off to traditional care after that program, which is generally about 9 to 12 months. There is also within our homeless services the Veterans Justice Outreach Program. So we do have 3 social workers who work with the criminal justice system here in Connecticut for pre-sentenced veterans to assist them engaging in VA services and being an advocate and support for them, and oftentimes being the staff that help them with alternative plans if courts will allow it, where we can offer treatment and support and hopefully to avoid people having to spend time incarcerated. And then we also have another social worker in our healthcare for reentry veterans program. And that person's job is to work with veterans who are sentenced here in Connecticut. And as they're returning to the community from incarceration, connecting them to the resources at the VA or homeless services that they need so we could avoid people coming out of incarceration and being homeless. I mentioned briefly the Community Resource and Referral Center, and that building is located down in West Haven. And that is a VA funded program that was really meant to be that one-stop shopping place where homeless veterans can get assistance. So that those doors are open from 8 to 4:30 every day. Pre-pandemic, it's been a little bit of a struggle since then. We used to have community providers on site. So when working with our homeless veterans or any homeless population, you may or may not see them more than once sometimes. So if we can provide as many services as we can in that one moment, then we can often help somebody or at least get them to come back to us. So the CRC works with community providers, including, and I'll talk about SSVF, VSOs coming in. We had the Connecticut Food Bank that would actually come set up in our parking lot once a month for veterans who are in need of food. We had other medical providers, DSS, that we assisted veterans with. The CRC also has showers and laundry where we're able to assist people with their basic needs. We do have a lot of ability to assist with basic needs like clothing and toiletries, helping people being able to access food that they might need. And we work pretty collaboratively. It's not technically a VA program, but the support services for veteran families is a VA funded program so it's granted to community providers to assist homeless veterans with rapid rehousing assistance. So if a veteran is homeless and we are able to help them to get employment and they need just a first month's rent or a security deposit, they can provide financial services in order to help that veteran get stabilized in housing. They could also provide homeless prevention services. So if there's a veteran who got behind on rent and they just need to get caught up and they'll be fine and their housing won't be at risk, then they can certainly access SSVF for those resources as well. We work pretty collaboratively with them here in the state of Connecticut. They can certainly, veterans and families can call us at the 2 numbers that I have on the slide. The other piece I apologize that I didn't mention sooner is that veterans don't need to be literally homeless to engage with us. So if somebody's housing's at risk, we want those veterans and those families to call us as well, because the sooner we can connect them to resources, certainly the better. We do work collaboratively with the Connecticut Veterans Legal Clinic, which is co-located at the CRC, and we can refer veterans for assistance if they are being evicted, if they're working on discharge upgrades, if they're having problems with child support and that's why they can't pay their rent, and working on those kind of modifications, then there are attorneys there that are free for veterans that we work with that can assist them with those problems and services. Certainly our goal would be to avoid somebody entering homelessness as much as possible, but when we aren't able to do that, we do have a variety of resources that can help. So I would encourage anybody to give us a call at any time or reach out to me with any questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we'll continue.
All right. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Tisha Maddox. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also the Women's Veteran Program Manager. And this afternoon, I'll be giving you an overview of the Women's Veteran Program. So currently, there are about 18 million veterans in the United States. Of those 18 million, 1.7 are female veteran. Female veterans are the fastest growing subgroup within the VA system. Over the past 10 years, the female veteran population has doubled and is also set to double again within the next 10 years. So, seeing the fast growing population, there was a recognition of actually needing to make sure that treatment for our female veterans was specifically tailored to them. That's how come the women's program was developed. Essentially, the women's program mission is to ensure that our female veteran gets the most effective care, timely, and gender specific. But women's program was half of the equation, right? So we also needed to make sure that we had trained providers that were going to address problems specifically presented by our female veterans. So now most of our primary care providers, especially in the women's clinic, they are trained specifically to address female needs. But not only that, we have multidisciplinary teams throughout VA Connecticut. So no matter where you get your treatment, there is a primary care provider trained to address female issues. So we have the female program here at West Haven, Connecticut. And we also have designated providers. So no matter where you go throughout the VA Connecticut, you have a designated women's health provider for our female veterans. Some of the services offered. So let me share my screen. Let's see if I could do that. All right. So then I lost it. So some of the service that we offer are, obviously we have acute care and chronic care treatment. We have breast and cervical cancer screening, GYN service, substance abuse treatment. We also have a robust mental health program. Not only that, we also have trauma-informed care and infertility treatment. So let's say that you're a female veteran and the VA does not have a service that you're looking for. Not to worry. The women's program have what we call women's care coordinators, and these women's care coordinator, their job is to essentially link our female veterans with care in the community. So these care coordinators essentially stay with our female veterans from their initial appointment in care in the community until their final appointment when they're brought back into the VA system. Essentially, our care coordinators, they are the link between care in the community and our VA providers. Now, As your women's program manager, my job is to ensure that no matter where you get your VA services within the VA Connecticut region, your privacy, dignity, and safety is protected. Um, if you want to know more information about the women's program, call the main number. My extension is 5402. I'm always here to answer any questions. That's it for me.
Okay, who's next? Ricardo?
I am. Yes.
All
Afternoon.
yours.
My name is Ricardo Seeley, and I'm from the monetary benefit side of the VA. As I'm sure you know, the VA is composed of 3 administrations. Veterans Health is represented here this evening. National Cemetery Administration, which is in here. And when you hear National Cemetery Administration, just think headstone, cemeteries, markers, and the like. And we, VBA, are responsible for administering VA's mostly financial programs that provide assistance to veterans, dependents, survivors. And some of those programs are voc rehab now, veterans employment, veterans readiness and employment, insurance, home loan guarantee, compensation, non-service connected pension. The one I think that, most of us here are going to be more familiar with or come into contact with is disability compensation. So first, disability compensation is defined as a benefit that's paid to a veteran because of an injury or illness that occurs on active duty, sometimes aggravated by active service, meaning that a veteran might have had some disease, illness, disability prior to going on active duty, took the entrance physical, was fine at the time, and then while serving, that illness, that disability is aggravated by the veteran service. A veteran can, upon leaving active duty, now within 6 months of leaving active service, can file a claim for disability. VA's disability process is this. So the veteran fills out a VA form 21-526 Echo Zulu EZ. That's the form that I think some of you are familiar with or will become familiar with. That's the form that is used to file a claim for disability or file a claim for an increase for disability, meaning the veteran has already gone through the process, the VA has service connected that veteran sometime in the past, and now that disability or disabilities have gotten more severe, and the veteran is coming back to let the VA know that that has occurred. So veteran files a claim. First thing VA does, at least this part of the VA, is we retrieve the veteran's service records. Every veteran should have a personnel file and a what used to be called a service medical record, or now called a service treatment record. So we get those 2 files and we start to process the veteran's claim. Veteran's claim goes to a veteran service representative at some regional office around the country. Now that everything is digitized, it really doesn't matter which one. There was a time when if you lived in the state of Connecticut and you filed a claim in the state of Connecticut, as a veteran, that claim would be processed by our office, the Hartford Regional Office. It's not like that anymore. So that veteran service representative that is responsible for developing that veteran's claim is going to look at the claim, look at what the veteran is claiming, look at the evidence, look at the entrance physical, separation physical, any treatment the veteran might have had in service. If need be, that service representative can request what is called a compensation and pension exam, and oftentimes an opinion, as to whether or not that veteran's disability is more likely than not related to his or her active service. If that is determined, then we would want to know how severe it is, since the VA grants compensation in 10% increments, although 0% is considered service connection. So if you engage with a veteran at any point in time that tells you that he or she has been denied because we have granted him or her 0%, that is not so. Or if the veteran is granted at 0%, he or she is not service connected. The 0% means that the veteran is in fact, does in fact have a disability that's related to active service, but it is not severe enough for VA to compensate the veteran at that point in time. Bearing in mind that what I just said applies. If that condition worsens in severity, the veteran can come back to VA and file a claim for increase. So VA rates claims 0%, but from 10% is the compensable rate, and it can go all the way up to 100%. If a veteran is rated at 30% and has dependents, that veteran can inform us, give us the necessary dependent information, and we can put his or her dependents on their award, and that could get him or her some additional compensation. So, for example, if me and another veteran files a claim for disability, and we're both rated at 30%, and I have no dependents, and that veteran has, a spouse, children, gives us the necessary dependent information. We can put those dependents on that veteran's award, and that veteran would be entitled to a bit more compensation than I would, even though we're both rated at 30%. The 100% rate entitles a veteran to dental at the medical center. That rate also gets the veteran health care. So whatever the veteran is service connected for, he or she is entitled to whatever the care is they need at whatever care they need at the VA medical center. Now, as Maisha said earlier, some veterans are not eligible for compensation after going through the eligibility process. If a veteran goes to apply to the VA healthcare system for healthcare and is over the income limit for whatever reason, other reason is not eligible for healthcare, one of the ways that veteran can get healthcare is by coming to us and filing a claim for disability, and that often happens. Veterans have injuries, illnesses, diseases that are directly related to service, and sometimes tend to go to healthcare before coming to us. Are denied healthcare, are probably informed about this side of the house, and then comes to us and files a claim, gets service connected, and then is entitled to whatever care they need. Because of time constraints, I'm not going to talk about non-service connected pension or some of the other monetary benefits that veterans are eligible for that we provide. But if you happen to know what some of those other benefits are, such as insurance or home loan guarantee, voc rehab, as I just said, and you have any questions about those, you can let me know. I'll be here for the duration. If you have any questions about disability compensation, you can ask those questions, and I will do the best that I can to give you an answer, and if not give you an answer, get you an answer at some point in time. Thanks. That's all I have.
Ms. Oyola or Oyola?
Hi, I have a question for Ricardo. I have a question just regarding touching back on what you were saying about accessing service records. So for my personal particular case in investigating my own personal medical records, how would I go about accessing files related to any care I received in active service at a duty station, say Fort Huachuca, Arizona, that may be past 7 years, where they may have deleted it for HIPAA, or they may have restricted access? Would I have to go through the VA, or would I have to go through the federal government?
Well, any treatment that you've had on active service is really supposed to be in your service records, no matter where you are, any given place in time while you are on active duty. So when you come to the VA and file your claim for disability, first thing we're going to do is retrieve those records. Your medical record is of utmost importance, but we're also going to retrieve your personnel file, and hopefully all of the service you've had, all of the treatment you've had on active duty is in your service medical records. If it is not, I don't know that it'll be at, let's say, the National Personnel Records Center. That's where most of the records go. The only other thing I could suggest is if you know, if you've been treated privately while on active duty, and you can recall, where that treatment was given, You can give us a release of information form and we can try to gather that information. Depending on the length of time it's been, some facilities or some agencies maintain the records for 5 years, some 10 years, some 7 years, so it varies. So it is possible that given time, those records might be lost forever. But again, if you've been treated outside of your active service, if you've been treated while on active service privately, and you can recall where and when, and just give us a release of information form, and we will make every effort to try and retrieve those records.
Okay, so just to confirm and summarize what you just said, you're saying that there may be a possibility if I received care on base or at a federal healthcare facility, that if it's past 5, 10, 15 years, that there may be a possibility it's gone forever?
If it's a federal healthcare facility, as I said, we're going to try, as long as you tell us, we're going to try to retrieve those records, and we're going to try until they give us a negative response. If it's a facility that's outside of your treatment centers while on active duty, again, give us a release of information form and we will try our best to retrieve those records. Federal records, we will try until we get a negative response. Private records, it would be dependent on what the provider says to us. What I am saying, though, and I'm sure you know, some facilities do not maintain those records forever. Some are 5 years, 10 years, 7 years. The time varies. But if it is in fact a federal facility and you let us know what that facility is, we're going to try to get those records, and we're going to keep trying until we get a negative response or a positive response.
All right, thank you, Ricardo. I don't have any further questions.
You're welcome.
Yola had a question for Maureen Pasco.
Oh, that's a more personal question.
Okay, so they gave you the number to contact her, right?
Yeah, I took a picture of the slides. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anyone else has questions?
So Ramon, this is Heather. So I actually it's my turn to talk a little bit and just talk a little bit about.
I was waiting.
Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about VRNE and what we are and who we are, and so we're formerly known as Voc Rehab, still known as Chapter 31. In June of 2020, VA Central Office and VRNE Service, we rebranded ourselves to Veterans Readiness and Employment. So we are a training program, and we help veterans get back to work, transition from their service to gainful and suitable employment. And so part of that is that we work with veterans solely who have a service-connected disability. So that is the only must-have for our program, and to get into our program, to participate in our program, is that you have to have a service-connected disability. Now, there's a couple of other caveats that go with it, but basically what it is that that your service-connected disability must be a barrier to your being suitably employed. Meaning that if you have a back injury you're service-connected for, and your current job is to drive trucks all day or cross country, we would not consider that suitable employment. And we would help you get trained to find employment that is more suitable to your disability, that will not aggravate that disability or make it worse. It's a process, it's an application process, and it's all, web-based like everybody else, but all you do is fill out an application, you meet with a counselor. Counselor's going to decide, and you're going to speak to that person and talk to that person and try and determine if you are, if your disabilities are aggravating your employment. If you're not working, is your disability the reason why you're not working? So we take veterans, what we say, I often refer to, we'll take them from cradle to grave, meaning we get you at the very beginning of the program. put you through training. Sometimes that includes a trade school, sometimes that includes college, sometimes that includes a vocation. And we support you. We pay tuition fees, books and supplies for veterans to find new training. And then once you finish your training, you graduate, you're completed, you've done your clinical hours, whatever that field might be, what we do is we help you find employment. We work with a lot of community partners. We work really closely with the Department of Labor and with our federal partners at the hospital, at Social Security, at the service center, doing what Ricardo does in the office where Ricardo works, just to try and help veterans find some gainful and suitable employment. We have 5 tracks to employment, and I'm not going to go through them all because they're all very different. But I tell everybody, if you're service connected, you should apply to VRNE. I'm a veteran. I didn't use VRNE to get my degree. I wish I did, as because I say that VRNE is a quote unquote better deal than GI Bill. We pay the same thing. We actually pay for more. And so I know sometimes that's a lot for it's a lot for people to kind of consider when they go back to school because GI Bill doesn't pay for everything. So we work with our hospital partners, we work with our community partners, and we work with employers in the Department of Labor to help veterans transition and make a gainful and successful transition from their time in the military. Even if you've been out for a while, you're still eligible to apply for our program as long as you have a service-connected disability. There was a misconception that you have to be greater than 10%. That is not, in fact, true. You can be 10%. You just have to have a service-connected disability. I will say that if you are 10% service-connected, it will depend on the severity of your disability and if that disability is impacting your ability to seek, obtain, and maintain employment. So I know I talked fast as well, but I wanted to leave some time for anybody to ask any questions or just to kind of wrap things up and let you know who's all on here for those of you who are watching this virtually after we're done. We have the hospital side of the house, which was eligibility, and the homeless team, Ms. Maureen Pasco, Dr. Maddox from the Women's Clinic, Miss Head from eligibility, Mr. Ricardo Seeley from Veterans Benefits, and myself, I'm Heather Sandler. I'm the employment coordinator and voc rehab counselor in VRNE. Our offices are located in the Newington VA. So
Hi,
any
Ms.
questions?
Sandler.
Hi, how are you?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Regarding your VRE program.
Yep.
Going back to what you were saying about any veteran being able to qualify as long as they have a service connection at 10% or greater.
Yeah.
And also with you saying as long as it doesn't impact their ability to seek and maintain stable employment. How closely are you working together with any veterans that may be suffering from chronic homelessness or any type of like mental impairment that they may not identify with, that because of the stigma of mental health may be preventing them from maintaining employment, and they're doing everything that it seems that they can on their end?
So that's a great question. So one of the things that we do is that we work closely with veterans who are who receive VA care. Our program is different than, and when I say we use community partners, one of those partners is individual places like VA Easter Seals. We actually do referrals to the compensated work therapy program at the hospital because they have the ability to do a lot more intensive case management than we are designed to do. And it's not that we can't do it, but sometimes what you need before you come into our program is some experience, some work hardening. For veterans who've been out of the workforce for an extended period of time, due to their disabilities, their mental illness, their chronic homelessness. We like to work closely with Maureen's team, with the jail diversion team, with our hospital partners, because you are not employable, and that's what we're looking for. We need you to be employable. You're not employable if you're consistently worried about where you're going to sleep at night. And how do you present to an employer when you don't have the ability to have a good night's rest or to have access to food and those many other things that the homeless team is so great at handling and managing. So it's a partnership. We like to pride ourselves that we work together and try and be part of the team. Sometimes we're bound by our policies and our rules that we have to follow and maintain. But I'm happy to refer you to our partners at VHA, to the hospital side, so that all of a veteran's needs are being met. And if you come across my desk, my arms extend wide and far, and I try to not just go within VA facilities, but we have many, many community partners, the state VA, the Veterans Rally Point from Easter Seals, all of them, we all work together so closely to try and, get veterans what they need and get them where they need so that they can be successful in our program, because ultimately I want you to succeed. So I want you to come across my desk and be working and be gainfully employed and being in a job that's suitable for you, that's going to allow you to be your best self.
Okay, thank you so much. I
You're
just
very
wanted to ask about the VRE because I'm investigating the neurobiology of chronic homelessness and how they may, work hand in hand.
That was an excellent question. So I tell veterans, apply. So I will be in Rocky Hill. So if anybody has any, questions, or if anything comes up, just let me know. And anybody at any of the other sites that works at VHA, they'll be able to reach out to me. So just have them reach out to me.
If anyone else has any questions, I'm finished.
Well, Heather, thank you so much. Everyone else as well. Martha, what? All yours.
Your call. Is this the end of the presentation?
I believe it is. Anybody else? This is going up. It's recorded, so it will be going up for everyone to see. As of last year, also, that one is still up, I believe. One of the things that we like to pride ourselves that I heard Heather mention a lot. It's a partnership, and between all of us, we have a lot of resources out there. Not just us, that we all work here and doing what we do, but we have other resources at our fingertips that we are able to utilize to help all veterans in any way we can. And no one person has the answers, but between all of us, we sure try to find it. So I appreciate everyone, and I, can't say, I love what I do. So we shall talk again. If anybody has anything to say, please feel free. This is live.
Hi again. I got here a little late, and I just wanted to touch back to what was being said earlier when Maureen was giving her presentation on her program. I don't know if you guys were reading the chat, but I'm working closely with some other veterans that were afflicted by Hurricane Henry and Ida, and I think Fred before Henry, that have been working with the town of West Hartford. And are, you know, some are diagnosed with things like, I have one veteran, for example, I'm not going to say his name, who's diagnosed with Crohn's disease, who's not able to properly express what he needs in terms of what he needs for help from the town of West Hartford, from the town of West. And so we're like contacting the VA and working together with the town of West Hartford. Thankfully, they stepped up because they saw us on the news and on TV, and they provided transportation with working with CT Transit to shuttle us to a nearby school where we were able to talk to their relocation team and be relocated into temporary housing for the time it takes to secure more stable housing situations. But for some veterans, they're facing issues where they're having to ask for help from the town of West Hartford, and they get put into these hotels where the customer service may not be very friendly. They may be in a bad neighborhood, like they may be in a hotel in Hartford, and Hartford is a very, dangerous area. So the customer service isn't always exactly the most friendly. And sometimes they tell the house, or they tell the town of West Hartford anything, like they lie and make up things, and some veterans feel discriminated against, and that they're having issues, more more issues than other people, like in one particular case where one citizen of West Hartford is able to be relocated to another hotel that's close to his work, and another veteran being treated like a second-class citizen completely because he can't get the proper help from the hotel. Who do I direct him to talk to? Because there's so many times where one person.
Well, from my experiences, my name is Ramon Augusto, if I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm a veteran service officer for the state of Connecticut. One of the things that we experience when it comes to certain issues, you have like United Ways, you got all these different places that assist with those kind of places. But at one point, I usually get politicians involved when it gets to the point where I have no other recourse. The same way that they reach out to us for their constituents, which is all of our veterans, it's the same thing. We reverse it and use them as well to get assistance, because they are able to get answers sometimes a little easier and quicker than we are able to as me as a state employee. So I do reach out to them. So that may be a factor that you can consider. I know there's other places where other people use, so it's all out there.
Thank you so much. Like I was trying to say before, and I was unable to come up with the words. Like I have a veteran where it feels like maybe this is a little personal for people in the chat room, but where your mom tells
be
you,
careful.
tells you to go
Wait,
talk to your dad,
Oyola,
your dad tries,
Oyola, I just want to let you know, this is being recorded, so do not put it personal.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you heard what I said, but I said it already, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
But it just, I have one veteran getting the runaround essentially, and it's just frustrating for this particular veteran to, you know, be feeling like he's continually, you know, going through this process where he deals with a state worker or a politician or a worker from the town of West Hartford, and they act like that because they're the only person that can help. They almost feel, I don't know, my veteran feels manipulated sometimes. And I'm just trying to make sure he knows that where, you know, that there is hope. But thank you for the politicians, because that might definitely be an effective solution in this particular case.
And this is Maureen. I would just, and the veteran's always welcome to call us. I think it's a little bit more complicated if we're talking about people who were displaced because of a natural disaster and the resources that people are, it's not as clear from our end of how we can assist, but I would encourage the person or any veteran, if they're concerned about their housing, to reach out to us and at least have that conversation and see if there's something we can do to help and support.
Okay. If nothing else, I think we're pretty much set. I thank everyone. We thank everyone. And I think we're pretty good. Martha?
Okay, so I should close the sessions completely. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.